Hi, I am making this video because I broke my car key in the door yesterday and was not in too much of a hurry to fix it, so I came onto Google and YouTube to see what the best quick fix was for this situation. I was shocked not to find any useful info, and it came down to many posts asking if you can use superglue or not. Even the so-called professionals said no, or suggested you rather get a locksmith, but those monkeys have just been left out in the cold, because they do not understand that sometimes superglue is your only solution or that paying for a locksmith could seriously harm your finances if you did. I agree, though, you cannot fix it with only superglue. I am just a graphic and website designer and no expert, but I remembered seeing how concrete is set and that they always use steel as a foundation. Otherwise, we would not have any concrete at all as a building option. The concrete blocks would simply break or snap without it. It's the same with fiberglass, I suppose, and plaster of Paris casts. Those are all materials that cannot work without a foundation of steel, fabric, rope, and so on. So, just before I show you how it's done, if you find this information useful, this video is sponsored by myself. I am a freelance graphic, website, and 3D designer in South Africa. I work remotely, so wherever you are, if you need any of my services, please check the link to my business website below. So, instead of liking and sharing this video, please consider using my services. We all need a designer sometimes, so why not me? So, back to the problem at hand. Let's go through what you will need, shall we? 1. If you have alcohol or something similar, soak the parts in it for a while to remove any excess oils. If not, try to censure them as best you can. 2. You need both parts of the key. How you remove the key from the lock is up to you. I used a needle with a curved point and eventually got it out. 3. You also need to ensure that the shoulders of the key are the main part that turns the lock, otherwise, this will not work for you. 4. Then you need some superglue. You get various strengths, the strongest of which is usually determined by the price. The cheap stuff is nasty and frequently contains more gas than superglue. Just use the best that you can. 5. Then you'll need tweezers, a pin, a hair clip, or something to hold the key with, so you don't get your hands full of superglue, of course, especially with that expensive stuff. I tried 2-part epoxy, but I would not suggest it. In case I overlooked any other types of glue that can work, please let us know in the comments below. As I said, I am no DIY expert. I found wire strips from normal electrical cables perfect, as well as easy to find. You can probably also use some kind of thin fabric or thread as well, but let's stick to how they do it in construction and use metals. 7. You may also need a nail file or sandpaper in case you get too much glue on the key and the key does not fit. Great, let's get started. First, glue the key back together as best you can. This bond will snap once you use the key, but you need it intact for now to do the other stuff. Remember, we are using construction methods here, not simple child's play. Just ensure that it's bonding the pieces together the same way they were. Allow a minute or two to dry. You can keep pressure on it with one hand. Next, you need to separate the wire strands from the cable and cut them to about 2 cm lengths. I discovered that 3 to 4 strands per side works well. Then you must fill the groove of the key with glue and insert the strands carefully. However you want to do this is up to you, and you will also have some time to do this as the glue will stay wet for about 5 minutes. Then, using a pin or any similar metal object, stroke up and down the groove to push the strands as far into the groove as possible, while also pushing away excess superglue. After doing this once on this side, you can turn the key over and do the same to the other side. Then just keep stroking the groove until the superglue is dry and the strands are set firmly. While I catch up, here is a cool fact about superglue. If you add bicarbonate of soda, salt, or any type of fine grain to the surface of the glued part, you get a very strong bond. Similar to plastic. It will not work here because it will make the key too thick, but I have done that many times before to repair my glasses in an emergency. It can also be a permanent solution for many types of repairs. I cannot express how strong this bond will be, as the glue and salt will start to form a hard shell that can be just as strong if not stronger than the material you are repairing. Apply a few layers, file them down a little if needed, and it will be hard to even notice. Okay, so now the key is almost set and dry. You have pushed away as much excess glue as possible, and your strands are properly bonded to the groove. Allow an extra 10 minutes to ensure that your key does not become permanently stuck in the lock. Finally, use a file of sorts to remove any rough edges or a small flat tip screwdriver to reopen any parts that may have gotten too clumpy or excessive. Done. Check this out. That should do the trick. Over to the car now. Then try to lubricate the lock first if you can. Obviously, with proper lubricant, Or if you have limited options, you can even use cooking oil even. As a last resort, some oil from the engine will do. You can get that from the dipstick. This is more than likely why the key broke in the first place, because the lock was getting too stiff to turn, so be sure to do what's needed to prevent it from happening again. Every year during the wet season, such as now, my key breaks because water gets into the lock and causes it to tear on the driver's door. Insert the key, and don't be alarmed if the parts snap again, because they will. It's the glue and strands that are now holding everything together. If you find the key is not sliding into the slot, check to see where it is catching, and file that part down more until the key does fit. Then slowly but firmly turn the key. Hopefully the pressure is on the shoulders of the key and not the shaft itself, otherwise, this may not work. You can now start the car. If you think the extra twist required to turn the starter will be too much for the key, roll the car and kick-start it instead if you're parked on an incline. Remember, this is not a permanent solution and may work a few times, but it's best to get the car and yourself to safety if you are out and about during the night, or to go directly to the closest store to have a new key cut. You can also repeat the process if you feel that your first attempt was not your best. Just use a small flat screwdriver to scrape off the super glue and start again. I hope that this video was helpful. The answer to the question of whether it's possible to use superglue to fix a broken key is a resounding yes, you can. It was a pleasure making this video for you, and please tell us how it worked for you and share your story in the comments below, as well as any other similar tricks that worked for you. Finally, I did this video in a hurry, and making videos is not my best skill, and I also had to use my phone to make it. However, this is a link to what I am good at, my website. To be honest, I've had difficulty finding work recently due to a variety of local factors, and the South African economy isn't what it used to be, so if you need anything designed, a logo, a basic or complex custom website, 3D modeling, a catalog, a brochure, an advertisement, social media, labels, packaging, clothing design, t-shirt designs, promotions, 3D characters, anything goes. Just check out my portfolio first, and then we can talk about your needs. A one-off job, seasonal contract work, or a full-time retainer? Let's talk. Bye for now.